Hi there, it's Vladimir. Today I continue talking about the present. And yesterday I recorded a video where I tried to focus on one particular understanding of present. And this understanding I briefly just repeated in a few minutes. If you didn't watch my yesterday video, probably it will be useful for you to know what I was talking about. So the point was that when you are in present, you focus on your actions and you don't think about some other things. For example, if you are eating your breakfast, you don't think about your job or your friends or speaking club or whatever ideas may come to you. You are thinking about your food, or even you don't thinking at all. So you are in this moment. And also, if you, for example, doing some habitual actions like brushing teeth or whatever it may be, also you can be in this action. And it's like when you are always in present. Of course, it's impossible, but some teachings are designed to put you in this state, and they claim that it's like perfect state. If you are able to achieve that, if you are able to be always in the present, no matter what you are doing, you will always be happy, because there's no some anxious thinking, there's no any whatever may disturb your mind. Well, and yesterday I was talking a lot about this, and I told my story, not my story, but my story of yesterday, when I woke up and started thinking, and then after 15 minutes I realized that, well, what am I doing? Like, I'm trying to focus on present, but instead of to get up and go to the bathroom, I'm just thinking about this speech which I will give in next few hours. Well, and then I was trying to focus on present during my morning routine, but all the time my brain just ran away to something else. And I don't say that it's bad, but sometimes, of course, you can really, if you want to control your thoughts, if you want to improve your life, let's say, it's a good technique which you can try to implement to your daily routine. I call it the automatization. So when you, for example, as I said, doing something automatically, like eating or whatever it may be for you, and you think about something else, you can just focus on the process. And if you try to focus on the process, if you try to be in present, it's a kind of practice which you can, it's kind of skill which you can master, and probably it will help you with your anxious mind or monkey mind, or no matter how you like to call it. Today I'm going to talk about a different way of looking at this issue, and this way, to understand it better, let's start from a contradiction. So, for example, it's not a real contradiction, but for many people it seems to be kind of, they always, especially for people who think in black and white, it's like it's completed contradiction. And we can say that it's contradiction, for example, between theory and practice, or between actions and like thinking. And the best way to look at it as a contradiction between actions and thinking. You may think that actions are important, and thinking is all like useless, stupid things. If you are thinking, you don't do anything, you daydreaming, or you are not in the present. But another way, which Eckhart Tolle will never tell you, it's like when you focus on your thinking, and your thinking becomes your present. So when you live in this, like, let's call it a mood or state. So when you live in this first state, you are thinking about your actions. No matter what you're doing, you try to focus on your actions, and then you try to be present. And another state, it's like your actions, they aren't important at all for you. So your main focus is on your thoughts, on your stream of consciousness. And actions, it's like, it's a kind of extra reality, which basically doesn't make any sense. So it's important for you to do something just to be alive. But since you are alive, since your needs are satisfied, since you shouldn't worry about how to get food and how to fulfill your basic desires, then you can focus on your thinking and live in this mode. It's like the radical way of looking at it. You can say, like, when you are dreaming, like when you are sleeping, you may live for having sleep, or I don't know how to state it better. The point is, for example, you are sleeping and you feel yourself comfortable, and then like, it's not for everybody, but imagine that you are like a person who suffers from a disease, or you are a person who lives in poverty, and there's lots of needs. You must work every day for 10-15 hours, and it's like endless circle. It's a loop which never ends. And you also have a sleep like 8 hours. You may sleep 8 hours every day, and during these 8 hours you forget about your work, you forget about who you are, about your poverty, about your bad conditions, about your environment, which is terrible. You are in a sleep and you have like amazing dreams. You may dream of anything, and you may be happy at that moment. But then when you get up, you see there's this tough reality, and you must do lots of work, and you're probably upset. And when you think about this second way, and I'm not telling you that it's like the best way you can live, but it's just one way you can consider this whole reality as a kind of terrible nightmare. And your thinking, it's like, and again, you may think, oh, it's like you try to escape in your thinking, you try to avoid reality, you try to to live in your dream world, you try to what? you try to escape. Again, I repeat, but I just don't have better words. Probably I have to learn new words. Okay, actually I have lots of words, but they don't come to my mind when I don't have enough time to think. Of course, if I may just stand here for a few minutes and try to remember all these words which can be used at this particular situation, of course I'll remember something, but now it's not the case. Well, so you just live in your thoughts, and your thoughts are important for you, and everything else isn't important at all, or it's important only to the degree to keep you alive. Because of course, if there's something serious in your life and you have to deal with that, of course, if you go to this dream world, it's not a good thing. But when there's no problems, when there are no problems, and when your life is stable to some degree, it's really interesting to go to this unknown field, to your thoughts, and focus on it and see what's going on there. Because people, they know what's going on in their daily lives. If you ask them, like, what are you doing, what are your hobbies, or like, what are your friends, what are you talking about with your friends, what are you doing with your friends, they can tell you it all with no difficulty. But when you ask them about their mind, their thoughts, it's like, try it on your own. Try to ask people what they are thinking about all the time, and probably they will tell you. Like in my case, most of people tell that they think about their actions, or about their hobbies, or about they don't tell what they are thinking about. They tell what they are doing. And when you just try to point out that it's like it's not the same thing, So when I ask you about thinking, I mean like you have 16 hours every day while you are awake. And during these 16 hours, there's lots of things are going on, not only in your physical, let's call it physical, I don't like this distinction between physical and metaphysical world, but now let's just take it as a useful, no, useful, what? Useful model. So when you ask people what they are thinking about, they tell you about their physical reality, and they then don't usually tell you about their thoughts. And I think it's like it's not universal, but it's very common thing that people are afraid to tell their thoughts. So when you ask them what they are doing, they can easily tell. But when you ask them what they are thinking, they start talking to you what they are doing. And here, what I'm trying to do, I'm trying to focus your attention on my thoughts rather than my actions. Because I can tell a lot of time, if we focus on present, I can tell lots of things, like what I'm doing right now. Because if we take this time, like present continuous. And one thing is use present continuous when we're talking about something that we're doing right now. Right now, I'm speaking to the camera, I'm speaking to you. But also, it's another way of looking at this present simple, present continuous, is that you take your actions which are in the middle. When you are in the middle of some action, you may use present simple. For example, now I'm reading a book, Cultural Anthropology, and it doesn't mean that I'm reading it right now. It means that I started reading it maybe a few weeks ago, and I'm still in the middle of the process, and probably in like next few weeks I'll finish reading the book. And there's lots of processes, for example, in my life, where I am in the middle of these processes. So I count, like I am working on speaking club right now. I'm trying to. I'm working on my journal. I'm working on my. No, it's like I'm working. But again, you got the point. There's lots of processes, and you can talk about them. Like there's lots of content you can cover while you're focusing on these processes. But your thinking, your thoughts, yeah, it's like when you focus on them, most of the time they support these processes. So you have this like 1,000 processes which are you in the middle of doing, and your thoughts are shift between these processes all the time, because when something becomes important for you, your thoughts are focused on this process. When you like probably there's a problem, you solve the problem, you get to the next process, and then to the next. But there's also another kind of thinking, which is like what, for example, what I'm doing right now. Yeah, it's like, yeah, it makes sense for me to record the video to clear up my thoughts about present, to prepare myself for a speaking club. But also, it like I'm trying to focus on my thoughts and what I'm thinking, and so it's kind of, it becomes kind of stupid. I'm repeating the same things. Well, let's go back and focus on this idea when you are living in your thoughts in opposition to when you are living in your actions. So, of course, the best way to deal with this issue is to shift from one way or from one state to the other. So, for example, when you are living always in your thoughts, you have a risk to be completely sunk, sunk, to be completely sunk in this, in your imagination. Let's call it that way. And when you live in your actions, you can be, you can, you have a risk to become like to lose your mind, right? You will not be able to think. You're always living action. Maybe it's a good thing. Maybe it's a bad thing. I don't know. I'm like my personal experience. I'm trying to like mediate between both. So, but most of the time I'm focusing on this thinking stuff because it's really interesting for me. I like to learn and I like to observe my thoughts much better than to observe like this reality. Reality for me is like pretty boring. So there's almost nothing to do. Of course, there are lots of things to do, and we can argue about that. But the point is that somehow I started like learning lots of philosophical, psychological concepts, and then I discovered that it's for me it became like my life. Let's say it that way. And I like to observe my thoughts. I like to to write down, like to discover something in my stream of consciousness every day, write it down, to compare like different periods of my life. For example, I have some periods when I was writing journal like for half a year in English, and then I gave up. Then after a little time I came back to writing journal again, and there was like a few months, and then I compared this both periods of my life, and just to see the progress, whether there is a progress or not. And it's like you live in your thought, but it's also your actions. It's so clear. And what I've noticed that when I think, it's like really this like you also can look at it as for example distinction between philosophy. There's basically people who call themselves realists and people who call themselves idealists, or you may also say like materialists and spiritualists. But it's like there's a distinction in philosophy, but in roughly speaking, they're the same thing. And for a realist, like this whole reality, this world, like physical world, was really important. And whole his mind lives in this physical world and works to to do something in this physical world, to improve this world or to destroy it, or to do some job and earn money and have sex, have family, to continue his or her survival. And like it's one thing. And for an idealist, for him, this world, like let's take Schopenhauer, it's like the most, from my perspective, like the most famous idealist of all the time. And Schopenhauer, for him, this world doesn't exist. It's like it's all illusion. But it's not an illusion. He understands that it's like it's a real world. People are doing something there. But he also considered this notion of boredom. So he was like very famous for his essays about boredom, and he criticized people. Like there was even, I forget, there was a quote like the life in this material world, there's needs or boredom. So when you have needs, like if you need to survive, if you need to do something, if you need to work every day like 8 hours, and you can focus on your work, it's like it's one, and it is mostly suffering. So you are suffering, and while you are suffering, you aren't bored. But since you satisfied your needs, your basic needs, you get to an opposite pole, and here like there's a kingdom of boredom. So there's nothing to do, and people try to amuse themselves with some some activity which actually makes no sense most of the time. And Schopenhauer says that like this ideal, this materialistic world, it doesn't like, it's something that we can take and it exists, we can live in it, but mostly let's go to this opposite world and like intellectual world. And it's not intellectual. Schopenhauer didn't use this word. For him it was like let's call it metaphysical world. And this in this metaphysical world, it's like it's the whole world is it's like thoughts and ideas, and this world is like it's infinite world in the same way as this world, because in the second world you can like there are lots of languages. In these languages you can find lots of meanings, and you can discover these meanings like during 50 years, and you will never reach the point when you can say that, well, now I know everything. You can just you can go in this world and live in it, and also you can learn, like not learn, but focus on your thinking, and your thinking is basically it's this second world. And Schopenhauer himself lived in this, like mostly in this world, wrote lots of books, and was famous for his critique of this like materialistic approach. And yeah, of course, it's an interesting point, because really here, Schopenhauer also was famous for his way of looking at solitude. For him, solitude was the perfect thing you can achieve. So, for example, nowadays, at least in like most countries, we are socialized, and we live in big cities, and like we depend a lot on other people. And for Schopenhauer, it was like the disaster. He didn't like it. He liked to be alone. He was a kind of introvert, let's say. And so now we have this like propaganda that you must socialize, you need to communicate with other people, you need to do something with them, and it's like kind of good thing. And if you are alone, if you are, for example, sitting at home all the time and reading books, or no matter what you're doing, playing video games, it's not a good thing. And Schopenhauer posts like an opposite view. He says, look, no, like when you are alone, you can immerse yourself in this metaphysical world, you can read great writers, you can write, you can work on your thinking, on your thoughts, you can develop yourself, you can focus on what you are actually interested in, you can really put your energy and your mind in one thing. And when there's people, it's always destructive, they all talk about some stupid things all the time. And even if you like find a good company of people who are like interested in self-development, or no matter what what it is, you'll still not be. Especially Schopenhauer was a genius. He believed he was a genius. Like I, for example, I don't believe in these terms like genius, and it's all really exaggeration. So, but Schopenhauer, he believed that he was a genius, and he didn't like to communicate with other people because he understood that he like were superior, and for him to start talking to other people, it's like to start talking to dogs or cats, and and he just preferred to be alone, because since he get to the public, he becomes like he loses like 3/3 of his like his intelligence, or whatever he believed it was. Very difficult to talk about it in English. Perhaps I need to read Schopenhauer's books in English, or reread them. That maybe may help me with vocabulary. Because in Russian, when I talk about Schopenhauer, it's like it sounds quite different. Well, Jung, also Carl Jung, famous psychologist, he had these types, psychological types, and in these types there actually was 16 of them, but basic types were like thinking and feeling, and there was like thinking and feeling. There was kind of contradiction or an opposite of them, like intuition and sensation, and thinking and intuition is like one side, and feeling and sensation is another side. And basically they're like this two against two. They are opposed to each other. And people who are, and of course there was like further distinction, like you may be thinking an extrovert, thinking an introvert, and extrovert you are what you like to be around the public, and you like to hang around with other people. And so if you're introvert, of course you like to be alone and focus like on your actions. But the point is that this thinking type and sensation or feeling type, they're both stand in contradiction to each other. And you may think about it in the same way. So when you live in this world, the first world, you live in your thoughts. And if your psychology is wired in this way, when you like to analyze your thoughts and think about like this everything what you may think of, and it's like it's perfectly okay to live in this world. And if you are a feeling type or sensitive type, that's okay for you to experience lots of feelings. And and again, we have five senses like vision, touching, smell, listening or hearing. No, I don't know the name of these senses in English. Smell and what else? When you taste. Yeah, and people who like focus on this world, and again it's like about present, about now. So you just like to experience these sensations, and you try to find like really you are focused on these sensations, and you always find something that is good for your feelings. Like you try to eat, you are happy when you eat like tasty food, and you are happy when you see some great pictures or like nature or whatever you may see. So, and again, you are when it smells good, you feel, and and then in this way you are just focused on this world, and you can, when you are now, if you live in present, and if you focused on this world, it's like it's perfectly okay to focus on this world. And thinking may be destructive for you. That's the point. Thinking may be dangerous, and it always leads you somewhere else. And that's if you practice, if you master this skill to be always in present. Like it's if you are a sensitive type or feeling type or sensitive type, it's perfectly okay for you. But if you are like focus on your thoughts, so it means that all these sensations there, like you get some pleasure from them, but most of what you get pleasure from is your thoughts. When you are created something interesting, or when you discovered some great book and you read the book and you are think, wow, that's amazing, it's like all about me. And the man writes he's so clever, he's brilliant, I like to read him. And also when you may have lots of interest in this field, like you may study, like most scientists, they like really they live in this world of thoughts. So for them, they get pleasure not from just eating something or looking at some landscapes or whatever, or traveling the world. They will travel to ancient world through some books and live in this world, and that's where they derive their pleasure. And again, as I said, you may focus on this also, and being present in that case will be not like doing something, but thinking about being aware of your thoughts. That's the main point. So first, let's take my example, which I gave yesterday. I woke up at the morning, and I was laying on my bed, and then I realized, oh, I must be in present, and what I'm doing, I'm thinking about something like what will happen in the next few hours, instead of thinking about being present and